Cheers to diversity. All of it. I mean it. All of it. Cheers. Hello there, humans. I'm Dulcecil Bruno, the partially blind alien from a distant galaxy who is an Own Voices author. And it feels weird to say that in this video. Why? Because I'm partially blind and I am an Own Voices author. Is that even a thing? I'm starting to question myself. Why? This video is not to start any drama. This video is to start a discussion, and I don't want to call any names with everything that I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about diversity, the real meaning of it, and a little bit of raising awareness of what's going on, and among other things that I want to talk about in this video. I recorded this on a Sunday when I was also filming one of my writing updates, and I edited the video, and I watched it, and I had one of those doubtful moments, and I deleted it, and also the original file. So here I am again. Why? I thought and I convinced myself that it wasn't so necessary, and then I see it pop it up again. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again, over and over, all through social media. So it's not about the AuthorTube community or the Booktube community or the YouTube community. It's not a specific name. It's a phenomenon that I'm experiencing, and it's making me feel that maybe I am not so welcome after all. I know it's not personal though. I am an adult and I am smart enough to process that this is not against me or my community. No. I know the reason for it. I think I have a theory at least. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but whenever people bring up the diversity conversation, it's about two things, and two things only: skin color and LGBTQ plus rights. And I'm very happy that at least these two groups are getting the spotlight for a moment, because it's important, and I belong in both, so there are parts of my identity that are being recognized as important and deserving of representation, and I'm very happy. But as usual, disability is like swept under the rug, like we basically don't exist. Or if we exist, we are here just to be a sub-story of sorts, or the typical excuse that people reply to me and to other writers of disabled characters is that disabilities are seen as weaknesses. It's a turn-off for the readers. It's like an obstacle that has to be overcome. It's so... the writers are not willing to do the research. A writer who is not disabled themselves cannot write. Oh, come on, please. If you are a writer that is fully able and you want to represent a disabled character and you're willing to do the research and you take the time to do the research and you have sensitivity readers, I am very happy and thankful that you are doing the diligence, and, you know, I thank you. You are a role model to me. You're amazing, and I appreciate what you're doing. Now, if you don't want to do all the research and you feel like I am not qualified enough to write disabilities in my book, and I prefer to stay away from that water, I also understand and I appreciate your point of view. Now, telling me or someone else that we are seen as weaknesses and turn-offs and all that stuff, that's just an excuse. And that's something that I would love it to change sooner than later. Otherwise, eugenics is still a thing and nothing really changed. It just went a little bit silent, and it will repeat itself in the future when we have the technology to erase disabilities before they are even born. Okay, great, but, you know, I may or may not be writing about that. So I'm not calling out any names. It is just something that repeats itself all over social media in the writing communities, regardless of platform, regardless of genre. And here, this is the reason why I want to make this video. I am having a terrible, terrible, terrible hard time finding where to submit my thing. I'm going to bring the example that I recently entered Pitch Wars. But this applies also whenever I'm perusing a website to find literary agents. It's the very same thing. Now with pitch words, I have numbers and clear examples instead of just trying to memorize every single time I've been into one of those agent websites. So when I entered pitch words in my category of adult, there were 42 names, and from those 42, there were only 2 that were okay, or like pretty okay, with disabilities. 2 or 3. I think there may be 3, but one of them I don't really remember. I'm not sure, so I remember that person was interested in seeing something with biology and genetics, so I was like, maybe disabilities are included in there. I don't, that's why that one I'm confused. But there were 2 that I remember clearly. So from a 42 list, there was a very little percentage of people who were very open about disabilities. There was one mentor who clearly stated in their wish list, if you have a disabled character and the disability is cured by the end of your book, I am definitely not your mentor. I was like, please, you are the one, you are my mentor, you be my mentor, please, 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 please. And then I read the genres, and the mentor is looking for romance. And I was like, oh crap. Well, next then, I am writing sci-fi, so everybody knows by now. If you follow my content, then you know that I am writing a sci-fi, not a romance. I have published a short story in a disability and romance anthology, so I was very happy to see that actually the romance genre, which is the genre that everybody puts down, it's like, romance, and everybody wants to, you know, trash it. Well, they are the ones that have some kind of movement somewhere where disabilities are openly welcomed and included. So I want to take this little moment of appreciation to fellow romance authors and mentors and agents and publishers who include disability into the romance, which is the genre where being disabled would totally be a turn-off, because ew, is that contagious? And no, they are including disability, so I want to thank you. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Deeply appreciated. I salute you. But then it was so hard to find someone who not only matched with my genre, but also when they referred to own voices, was not just talking about LGBTQ and the color of your skin. These are very easy traits, you know, you can just slap them into a character. Oh, now look, queer, token points, and that annoys me. Own voices is everything, I think, or at least that's what I think, but that's not what the market is signaling to me. It's kind of tough. I don't want to reveal the identity of this mentor, but I am sure that if I go into details of the other mentor from the 2-ish that I found, one was the one about romance, and then this other one knows disability firsthand, and there, if you figure out which is this mentor, if you also entered pitch wars, please keep quiet. I'm not here to talk to call any names. I'm keeping this professional. But yeah, it was the only person that I saw who knows disability firsthand, was also writing a sci-fi, therefore interested in sci-fi projects, and also wrote a memoir, I think, or some kind of thing related to memoir, and they were also interested in aspects of memoir. I was like, you are my mentor, you. It's like, you know, yeah. From a vast list of people, there was one. This is worrying me, scaring me, and putting to question my professional worth again. And that's something I struggle heavily with every single day of my life. I start to feel that maybe I am a useless, shitty person that should be focusing on other things because the writing world doesn't care about disabled characters in fiction. Now that I touched on the memoir aspect, I'm gonna go back to priming. When I shared my book with a few people, so I have had some beta readers, those who have been through the whole book and finished it, they are like, when are you finishing your second book? I want it. They are hooked and they are very into the story. They like it very much. They point out my mistakes though, so this is not that I'm looking for praisers. No. I'm happy that I'm getting all that nice feedback, but of course I also have mistakes to fix, and I am working on that. Thank you very much for all the help with my book, and thank you to my beta readers. I appreciate you deeply. But the response has been positive, because it's a story that people say that they haven't seen before, and I'm like, what? Okay. But then one of my friends, who is my friend for so many years, so I'm not taking this as an offense, but it's another example of priming. Where am I going with this? My friend was like, oh, I like it very much. I would also like to see a story where a blind, deals with the blindness more, and like how they go through their daily life, and I understand, because that's what my friend has been primed to expect from a disabled person. Dal from the future here, and I forgot to talk about priming actually, because so many times I recorded this video that in the final version I completely omitted it, because I thought I already talked about it, many times recording. My apologies. What is priming? You were mentioning this priming thing. What it is? Well, for those of you who have never had any contact with psychology in any shape or form, other than just the word psychology, I am not an expert and I'm not qualified. In fact, I found a video I'm gonna link in the description, and if I find some other things, I'm going to link them as well. But from my remembrance of my days in psychology, which are pretty fuzzy at best, priming could be positive or negative, and it is a repetition of stimuli. Therefore, the subject remembers a certain stimuli much more. It's a faster reaction thing when it comes to memory, and it is not conscious. It's not conscious. It is just something that happens. It is something with a cognitive function, I think. I'm going to link it below, because I'm dumb with all these medical things, and even though I studied, here's where I fail as a writer. I am not a scientist. I am a fiction writer. But in short, it is a repetition of stimuli, which triggers a faster reaction from the subject's memory. You get me. I'm trying to put it in plain English. If you're good with all this psychobabble and scientific papers, good for you. I applaud you. I'm not the best at it. But what does that have to do with this video? What? Are you talking about psychology? No. Priming, in the case of this whole diversity context, I think what's happening is that there is this POC and LGBTQ+ are having a positive priming. This is why people remember it, because now it matters. And all the other aspects of diversity that I'm going to discuss further along in this video, like all of it, are kind of pushed under a rug, aka negative priming. It's forgotten. It is the narrative that we live in our day-to-day life and everyone's talking about. It's focused on these two pieces of diversity, and the rest of them are, not there. So this is why I understand it's not personal, and people are not doing it on purpose. It is just what's going on. It's a priming effect. Positive or negative, depending on how you look at it. But this is why when people start a discussion on diversity and representation and all that stuff, they tend to forget that all the rest of us, the minority groups, we are also here, and we are also diversity. So here, that's the piece of the video that I needed to add. Back to you, past and very scatterbrain doll. We are apparently still in the 21st century and on. We are still this walking sob story, Oh, how miserable to be with this disability, and how interesting and fascinating scene to see this person struggle. Oh wow, the underdog, like the ultimate underdog that everybody wants to root for, because how hard it must be. And yes, it is hard, but you see the tone? Yeah. I don't want to write a freaking memoir. I want to write fiction, and I want to include disabled characters, for the most part blind and visually impaired, because that's my area of expertise. But I also want to include other disabilities as I evolve as a writer. You know, we gotta start somewhere. But I want to include people with disabilities in all kinds of fictional situations, because that's real equality. I find this whole idea of a disabled person writing a memoir in their youth very condescending and low. It is more a detriment to the community than a favor. Why are you saying that? Why are you so negative? I'm not being negative. I am looking at it from a publishing viewpoint. What do you mean? Well, look, for the average person out there who doesn't know a thing about publishing, and they come to me with this thing about, oh, but you could write about your life, it's because you are so fascinating. Look, you are being really condescending. I have not done enough with my life to write about it as a non-fiction standpoint. Why? You have done so many things. This is the subtext. You have done so many things for a disabled. And I have even told them so, like, yeah, for a disabled, right? Because back then, I had a big mouth. I think I still do, and I'm trying to be more careful about it, but this video is like, I lost all my cool. I'm so sorry. But I'm tired of this hypocrisy and double standards, and I'm tired of all the condescending aspect of interacting with humans. It really annoys me. And I am going to call it out. It's not being negative. It's starting a discussion, okay? I do not subscribe to this viewpoint of absurd positivism where you can do anything you want and the sky is the limit. And yeah, that's for you who don't have a disability. Have you ever seen a blind person riding a car? No, driving? No, I mean in a video, like I tried driving and they were accompanied by sighted people, okay? You don't see blind people driving their cars from home to work every day, you know, for their 9 to 5 and back. Because it's freaking dangerous. So the sky is the limit and all the things that you've done and you can do anything you want. No. Stop being so poetic. I'm a poet, too. And I do not subscribe to this. I don't want to write a memoir. Because I'm too young. What? Yeah, but there are young people. I don't care. It's silly. And do you know how hard it is for the quote-unquote average Joe to get published, traditionally published, with a memoir? Do you really know how difficult that must be? That said average Joe must have done something really amazing. An innovation, some new tech of sorts, some kind of act of heroism. I don't know. It has to be something unbelievable for that person to get a published memoir traditionally. If the person is like young or, you know. Biographies and memoirs are a thing that you earn as you age. Because the older you are, the more years you've been around, and therefore you have done more stuff with your life. Sometimes. Not everybody, but those who do. Those who get the memoir published. You don't sit there perusing Amazon or whatever, looking for biographies of nobodies. You go and listen to, I don't know, the audiobook by Ellen DeGeneres, something like that. Because Ellen is a celebrity, you know, someone important. You go and look for the biography of J.F. Kennedy. Something like that. Who am I to try to even dare to publish a memoir so young? Oh, because I am disabled and because I have done so many things for a disabled. Oh, but you have traveled. Who cares? Everybody travels. Everybody moves abroad. People migrate. Am I special because I migrated as a disabled person? Are you freaking kidding me? That's so... It's ableist. That's the word. It is innocently ableist because the person doing that doesn't even realize what they are doing, because they have been primed to see us as sub-stories for them to feel better. Inspiration porn. Oh my goodness, this video is really going to cost me, isn't it? So instead, I am trying and maybe failing to play it smart. And I'm being very humble here in the sense that maybe I really don't know what I'm doing. And maybe I should really stop everything and go and apply to work in a pizza parlor or something, because the market doesn't want what I'm doing. And I'm still trying to play it smart in every single one of my query letters. I mention my fully able character and not my disabled character. This sci-fi is a dual point of view. This is a dual POV story with a character who's fully able and a character who's not. And you always hear me talking about Tibor. He's the one who has no physical disability whatsoever. And he's the one who's fine. So he's the one who's not going to turn people off in that sense, right? So he's the one in my query letter. He's the one I am always talking about in my videos. You never hear me talking about the other character, do you? You know there is one, but don't. I'm just being honest that there is one. But I'm not talking so much about it because, ooh, it's a weakness. No, I'm doing this also because I want to have a fictional story where I am not going with the narrative of putting the other down to empower the disabled. I'm tired of that narrative. I find it very hypocritical when it comes to like, oh, we want equality. If you really want equality, you mean equality for both groups or all the groups, not putting men down to empower women. And I am a female, all right? I am not a different gender. I am a female. I'm just not conforming to, kids and marriage and makeup and stuff, but I am still a female. And I am telling you this, that narrative is idiotic and ridiculous and unrealistic. We need everyone in society, male, female, and everything in between, to coexist. So this is why I am writing a fully able character who happens to be a male as well, and I am not putting him down. Without him, the story wouldn't exist. So much so that the story wouldn't exist without the disabled character. They are equally important. Maybe they don't have the same abilities, or they have different skills, because I also worked on that, but they are equally important. There would not be a story without either of them. To me, that resembles more equality than that silly narrative of putting the other down. So I was trying to play it smart, but maybe I'm failing at it. Maybe I should write a memoir, despite me thinking in such a negative way that it's condescending and low. Maybe I should change my mind. But as of right now, at the time recording this video, this is where I stand. And I want to point it out. I am a fiction writer. I'm too young to be published with a memoir or biography because I have not done enough with my life, and I recognize this. That's an age-earned publication, I guess. That's an age-earned privilege. You need the experience and the stories and, the years to be able to write an interesting memoir that everybody wants to read about. Also, I'm not interested in writing a memoir, maybe not even when I'm 60, maybe. If I am alive by then, if I have the stamina and the will to do that and pick up a gadget and write about it, maybe. But in all honesty, I don't think I will, even then. Why? Because I am not doing this for fame. I don't want the legacy to be remembered down the history line. I don't care about those things. This is the other reason why I write fiction. And Doll is not my name. It's a pen name and I'm hiding my face. I don't want the fame. I don't want to lose my privacy and my safety, and I have reasons, deep-rooted reasons and very hard-learned lessons for that. So, yeah, I write fiction. So to me, it is very annoying and strange and all kinds of wrong when people talk about diversity and they reduce it to this token of, oh yeah, there are some queer characters, and yeah, there are some people with other skin color in my book, and yay, representation. It annoys me. Because diversity, the term, is more than just that. And it's more than just disability either, as well. Like, I'm not here to say, disability matters too. Yeah, I'm here to say that. Don't take me the wrong way. But disability is not the only thing that is encompassed in the diversity term. Diversity is everything, and here I'm going to talk about all the other things that it's everything, just in case it's not clear. So, literary agents and mentors and everyone alike, if you happen to stumble upon this video, try to consider these things for your wish list, so writers who are actually writing these things can submit the manuscript to the right person. Because at the moment, it really just looks like a marketing plan thing and not real diversity and not genuine representation of anything. Okay? Let's say, for example, I'm going to try not to use my usual example, but let's say that you're writing in English, you are a native English speaker, and your world is, the world of your fictional story is set in Britain or America or Ireland even. Like, that's your main cast, that the majority of your characters speak English and are in an English speaking country, and then comes a Slovak character. That is also diversity, but that character is also white. Yeah, you get me. What makes this character diverse is the culture, the language, the mannerisms, the body language, or lack thereof, or whatever, like the history, all the things that made the character's nation the way it is now or in the future. This is diversity too. And you're going to tell me, oh, it's because you live in Europe, so you're used to that thing. No. It's the same thing on the other side of the pond. And it's not reduced to the skin of the character. Oh, because the Latino community, yeah. But there are cultural differences even within the north and the south of the US. And then there are the Canadian fellas. And then, this is diversity too. Why is people not talking, why people are trying to misuse a label of diversity to tokenize and profit off two specific communities just because the media is trying to virtue signal that they are progressivists now. No, you are not progressivists. No one. Come and talk to me about because we are open-minded and you don't even mention disability or religious minorities or mental illness or different ages. This is another thing. Ages is also diversity. A character who's a teen is very different from a character who is at the last stages of their life. It doesn't have to be that they are gonna die, but elderly or above 50, after half of a century of being here, they're gonna be very different from your average fictional teenager. They have acquired more experience, more wisdom, knowledge, traveled, all the things that many teenagers, real and fictional alike, have never even dreamed of. This is also diversity, and we need it in our fiction. Usually elderly people are used as a trope device, the mentor, that skill, I'm so done with that. I want to see old people that don't die necessarily within the story. And, people are overly prioritizing the youth in all kinds of media. Doesn't have to be just fiction or just books or just movies. No. It's like a priority. Like, the younger you are, the more potential of material you are. It's like after a certain age, you don't matter anymore. That's the message that people are getting out with this youth movements and that kind of thing. Like, get them while they're young. They are ruining it. And I'm not saying that we have to only prioritize elderly people. No. Give the youth their role models and representation because they need it. It molds them for who they might become in the future. Great. But does that mean that past a certain age, we don't care about fiction anymore? Oh, we don't watch movies, we don't read it? Please. It is not an age thing. This feeling of connectedness and resonance with a fictional character is not that you want to see yourself. No. I'm not saying that you need to have an exact mirror of yourself to feel represented. No. But what I say is, it's also nice to see characters doing things at all stages in life. All of them. Young, college kids, workforce, retired, and everything in between. With families, with no families, nomads, settled down, all of it. Diversity also encompasses different social and economic backgrounds, and no one is talking about it. I see this, again, especially in the fantasy genre, or in the I have seen it also in mystery, but this prioritization of the rich. People want to write about royals and rich people and, people with acquisitive power. Or they write about the poor and the slums. Like, there's nothing in between. That's getting a little bit boring, isn't it? So, yeah, that's also another branch of diversity that many people are not discussing enough. And then you got the little more usual ones, but more touchy. If you are a writer who wants to stay away from religion, like I said, go ahead. No one is asking you to write about religious minorities if you don't want to misrepresent them. And same goes for disabilities. If you feel that it's too much for you and you don't want to do the research, you don't have the time for the research, you don't have sensitivity readers, you don't know where to find them. Oh, okay. You have your excuses, your reasons, your whatever, understandable. I'm not saying that writers should do this or should do that. You write whatever you want. If you're writing because something is hot in the market, I think maybe I am the dumb over here because I am not the one conforming to what's hot right now. And I want to raise awareness of all the other aspects of diversity because I'm a little bit tired of all this tokenism. So, I'm not here to tell the writers what to write. But I am here to remind you that whenever you are discussing all this representation thing, and you want to look like you're open-minded and stuff, just remember that there is more to minorities than how they look on the outside and who they want to get laid with. It is disabilities, it is mental illness or learning disabilities, everything that has to do with the mind and the skills of the mind. It has to do with religious beliefs, it has to do with socioeconomical backgrounds, it has to do with languages, it has to do with ages and different, experiences. All of it is diversity. All of it. And all of them have their token, which is something that kind of, I know tropes are important. I'm not saying that we have to get rid of all tropes. No, these are only story devices, and it's okay. But, for the mental illness, we have the trope of the psycho, murderer, whatever, because, the mental illness, and oh my god. Annoying. For the age diversity, we have, like I said, the token of the mentor who has to die at some point in the series because they are old and boring. Be creative. What about a mentor who doesn't die? What about an old figure who is not a mentor? They have the knowledge, but they are not your mentor. It could be something else. I don't know. Up to you. Let me know in the comments what will you do with an older character in your story. Let's see what you can come up with. I don't know. Maybe you're already writing something like that. Let me know. I'm curious. I'm really curious. I need to find... I mean, I'm partially blind. I miss so many things in literature that if people don't tell me, I don't find them. I am more aware of the more popular things because everybody's talking about them, and I'm a little bit annoyed. For the language and cultural diversity, I see the token character from another country with a caveman English. Like, they cannot speak the language to save their lives. No. I see it a lot with, for example, the Russian characters. And this annoys me to... Ugh. It's so overdone, and I'm tired of it because, first of all, I don't buy it. I remember I listened to a book where... I don't even remember what the book was about. It was bad. I'm not going to point you to that book because I don't want to promote it. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. But it was published, and there was a point where I think it was in Atlanta, yeah? Something like that. Big part of the story was in Atlanta, and there was this point in the story where they go into a fancy jewelry shop, and there is this Russian lady who works at the shop, and this woman had such terrible English. Not just the heavy accent. Fine, everybody has an accent, and sure, there are Slavic people with strong Slavic accents. Nothing wrong with that. They speak English anyway. But this woman in the story, despite having such a fancy job that you better be educated and better be good at, you know, you are a salesperson. And she had such a terrible English. It felt tokenized. It felt like, okay, there, the Russian character, you know. And I'm not Russian, and I was like... swearing the few profanities I knew. Okay. I'm trying to write characters from different cultures and languages. Even Russians. Yeah, that's my antagonist. And despite him being my antagonist, I don't want him to have a terrible English. He might slip here and there, but he might, but not always. And he doesn't have a caveman English at all. Despite him being the bad guy of the story. And yeah, bad people have to come from somewhere, so sorry that I made him Russian. Nothing against Russians, just they are involved in space programs. So there he is. Anyway, religious minorities. Where do I start? Like, ugh. It could go either way, so I think I'm going to leave the topic of religion for another video or no video. But as you see, everything that is considered other has its own ways of tokenizing, and it still happens. And no one, absolutely no one is talking about it. So I am here to remind you of it. And I feel weird. I feel like... I don't want to be this nagging, annoying alien, but I wish that the writing industry would truly progress, like for real. Not just this marketing, labeling, selling like hotcakes thing that is in, and then in a few years' time it's not so important anymore, and they will find something else that is hot and in to focus on. I really don't want that to happen. I really don't want the Own Voices movement to be like a fad. So I made this video. Everything is diverse. Everything. And something I didn't mention, and it just poop into my mind right now. So you see what priming is? People with different body shapes. Well, my body is not ideal either, but again, I didn't think of it. You see, can happen to me too. But that also encompasses diversity, people with different body shapes. Not everybody has to be skinny, and not all the plus size characters have to be this chubby, funny, you know, like the typical plus size character of every other story. That is also diversity. And that is also important. You see, can happen to me too. So this video is precisely just to remind you, when you're writing a story, when you're building your characters, if you are really and genuinely looking to include diversity, and you have a big enough cast, you can try a few different things. It doesn't have to be always the same 2 things that everybody's talking about, because this will only make our stories boring and overdone by a certain amount of time after a certain amount of books have been published. And that's boring. So I just want you to remember that. And for literary agents and mentors, maybe you can be a little bit more specific, you know, like I already said. This is gonna have so hard consequences. So if you stayed to the end of this video, I just want to thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your thoughts down in the comments. The people who gather in my comment section are amazing. You guys, humans, I love you very much. You make me feel welcome indeed. I don't feel that, oh, I am with the community, with the people that watch my stuff and follow me and other social media. I do feel welcome. When I said I'm not feeling welcome, I'm referring to the market and what's going on in like the bigger areas of the publishing world. And yeah, I'm worried, I'm scared, and I am hoping that it will get better as we share and start up discussions like this and many others. So thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me know in the comments all your thoughts. And well, let's say that was my tea. Despite me, this is not a tea video. This is just a discussion. But you know, people talk like this. That was the tea. Ooh, she spilled the tea. No, but yeah. Cheers to diversity, all of it. And when I say all of it, I mean all of you. Fiction and real life people alike. Cheers to diversity. I'll see you in my next video.